Hello friends, welcome back to part 2 of the CSS tutorial. Today we'll be covering colors, how to change colors, because one of the first things we do when we're learning CSS to modify our HTML is colors. Why? Well, no specific reason, but I'm thinking that because everything's in black and white in HTML, and the first thing we want to do is change that black and white to a more colorful way. We're gonna be talking about RGB, HSL, RGBA, HSLA, and of course the predefined colors, because there's a ton of them in CSS. We'll look into hexadecimals and so on. So hope you enjoyed this video. Have a few examples. We're basically going to be modifying the same example over and over to do things in different ways. So hopefully you'll like this. So let's get to it. All right, so here we go. Let's go ahead and get started with our color tutorial. There are not many examples in this tutorial. What it is enhancing or expanding our file. As you can see here, I'm using brackets. Here's my index file. It says CSS tutorial part 2. I'm gonna put in colors and my level 1 header, my background. And this is what it looks like here on the left. I'm using Safari. Doesn't matter what you use, Edge, Safari, Chrome, use whatever you want. It's gonna look the same. So let's go ahead and get started with color. Now, the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go to the header section, and I'm gonna use the style to enter my tutorial here. And the first thing I'm doing, if you remember from part 1, we can use the asterisk when we want to make changes to all of the elements in one. And I'm just going to change the color to red. Right off the back, I'm going to go ahead and save it and preview this. And there it is. I'm changing it to red. Just by doing that one single line, I'm changing to red my web page. If I want to do something more, I'm going to go ahead and put here, instead of plain, I'm going to type red, because now it's in red. But let's say I want to change the background of this line, so that we can do style, and we'll do background color, and we'll do yellow. And now we'll change that to yellow. Let's see what it does now. And there it is. I changed the background color to yellow for this one line. Now, if you remember, now let's say I wanted this line, this text line is, I'm gonna put here now in blue, and I'm gonna do another style here, color blue, and so we'll save it and reload the page, and here it is. So I'm telling it, hey, everything with the asterisk, go to red. Here's my red. I'm changing the background color of only this one line. If I do this over here, it'll be for everything. So I'm going to do this for just one line. And now you notice that I'm telling here, do this in blue. Over here is red, here's blue. And remember, it's cascading style sheets. Cascading meaning that the last element to be changed is the one that's going to take effect. So even though I told everything to be in red, I'm going over that here, saying now make it blue. So that's how you do this. Let's say I wanted a border in the background color. I can do that by, in fact, I'm going to take rid of the yellow. I'm going to do the background, get rid of the background color. And I'm just going to change this to, now I have a border on this element. And so I'm going to get rid of this background color to yellow. And remember, we can do backgrounds, but we're going to do background of the whole page in a minute or two. So what I'm doing here is saying, look, I want a border, and the the CSS CSS element we're using is called border, and there it is, border. And border has several attributes, if you will, some parameters. One is the amount of pixels of the border, that's the width. I'm gonna make it 2 pixels. The type of border, it could be solid in this case. And then I'm gonna do the color tomato, the color tomato. Now, you notice that I used the word red. I had it already, I'm using the color blue. I'm using the word tomato. These are predefined color names that we can use in CSS. And the cool thing about this is that these predefined are standard on most browsers, if not all browsers. I'm gonna say all browsers. I'm gonna go for that. So now I have my red. I got rid of the yellow part here, but now I'm putting a border. The color is tomato, and then my text is blue. And that's how you add a border to this. But what if I wanted the whole background color to change? Now it's in plain white. I'm gonna go over here, and remember that I can do something like body. Remember that when I do this, anything that's in the body will be modified. So for the body, I'm gonna do background. And because I'm using brackets, it's giving me automatically all these predefined names. So I'm gonna use light blue. If I do light, it's gonna go, and then I can do light blue. And so what I've done is everything in red. I'm telling it, look the body, do a background color of light blue. I'm gonna leave my border, and I'm gonna do this in blue, and this should be in red. So this is what my page now looks like. I changed the background. This is light blue. Here's my red, there's my border, and there's my line. And that's how you change the background color of the whole page. And this is how you add a border. Now, I added the border to the one line, added the background to the whole page. I could do, let's go back to this, and I can do background, yellow, and let's see what happens. I'm using now, I'm overwriting. See, I'm doing a yellow now because I'm overwriting the body background colors to blue, but the last statement is yellow, just like over here is red, but the last statement here is blue. So for this element, it would be blue. And that's what it looks so far. So good, right? There are several things that we can do with backgrounds. We can also add a page graphic. I'm gonna go ahead and add a graphic to this. What I did is I went on the internet and I downloaded a Christmas tree. I added a Christmas tree. You have to have the image in your path, obviously. And for the body, instead of, I'm gonna go ahead and do this here. And so here's my light blue. And the reason I'm doing this only because I want it to be formatted in a way that's easy to read. So let's say I wanted to have a background image. So I'm gonna do background image. And I'm gonna do the URL of the image. And I'm gonna use background PNG. When I'm doing images, there's other things that we gotta include, like, for example, no repeat is one of them. No repeat. So I'm doing an image and I'm doing no repeat because I only want, if what happens is if I don't do that, it's gonna put the image a bunch of times. I'm gonna do the attachment is fixed. So it's gonna stay there. And I already done this example, but the image is very big. The image I downloaded. So I'm gonna do background size, and I'm gonna do 25%, only because I already know that my image is too big. Now I could have done pixels, or I could do percentages. I'm just gonna do 1/4 of the image size. And finally, the last thing I wanna do for my background is the position. Where do I want my Christmas tree? And I'm gonna do top right. And you notice how I'm not putting semicolon, semicolon, I'm doing both parameters. I'm going to the top and the right. Now, I already have the image in my path, obviously. So when I do reload, there's my Christmas tree right there. It's being covered by the yellow and the border, but you know, it's there. That's how you add an image background. You tell it the URL, and a repeat fixed. I use it 25%. I could done bigger. I could go. I can go 40%, and only so that I don't see this line. Just for this particular example, I'm gonna get rid of this right here, and I'll leave the text there. It doesn't matter. It's only an example. So look what happens now. I got rid of this, and I make my tree bigger. You notice that as I resize my browser, see my tree is 40%. It does not repeat, by the way. It stays in the same position, top right. So that's how you do a border. Now, so we've changed the color, or we can change the background color of an element or multiple elements. Obviously, we can define that either in the style part of my page, or I can do it as a style in my, as an inline, or if it was an external file, I'm not gonna do that right now, but obviously it's the same thing. So far, so good. Very easy, very straightforward. But so far, I've been using what I called predefined colors. Blue, tomato I had, light blue, red. But that's not the only way you can do colors in CSS. There are other ways. And the other way is the hexadecimal. Hexadecimal uses values ranging from 0 to FF. FF is the equivalent of 255. And by doing that, we're going to use what is called an RGB equivalent, red, green, and blue. And by using the values from 00 to FF, I can control the color. So instead of color red, for example, I can do pound RGB. And since I'm inside the style thing, I can do a comment right here, red. Remember, in CSS, this is how you do comments. In HTML, this is how you do comments. Okay, so FF, and I'm gonna do something here. Format RGB. Okay, there we go. So the first two letters, or the first two characters I'm gonna say, are for the value of red, then for green, and for blue. And a combination of those three will define the color. Now, the cool thing is here, if I put my mouse here, it tells me the color. See, it's showing it red. I know that because FF0000 is red. And this is the hexadecimal way. Here I see it shows me the little color. If I knew the color for light blue, I can do that as well. I can combine them all. I'm gonna only do the red this way, and I'm gonna save it. And I'm gonna reload it, and nothing will happen. See, it's gonna stay the same. Why? Because pound, when I use the pound, I'm looking for a hexadecimal value. Then it's red. That is the difference between a predefined versus a hexadecimal. Remember, hexadecimal 00 to FF for RGB. In fact, I can do this here. I can do values in hex range from 00 to FF. And there it is. So that's how it is. But what if I wanted to do an RGB? Well, actually, before I do that, let's say I want to add transparency. I want to add transparency to my text, and I'm going to do it to this right here. I have a border on this element, and I'm going to put here. Actually, I'm going to leave that there. I'm not going to change anything. I'm just going to add transparency. In hexadecimal, when we have this value, we can add a hexadecimal, another pair to define a transparency level. So I'm going to comment the whole thing. And I'm going to get rid of this. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to do color pound, but I'm going to add another pair of digits, and I'm going to do 1F. Add it, transparency. I hope that's how you spell it. Transparency. So that 1F here is a transparent value. So let's save it, and let me show you what it looks like. See how it dimmed? It made it transparent. It's still red, it's just a little transparent. That's how you do transparency using the hex. You add another value next to the hexadecimal value. And it can be anywhere from 0, 0, obviously. File save, let's reload it. It's completely transparent, to FF, the 255. And at this point, it becomes regular. So in essence, FF's equivalent to not having it there at all. So that's how you add it. Now let's look into another way of adding color. Let's say I want to use the RGB, but instead, see, this is RGB, but I want to actually put in the word RGB. And we can do 255,0,0. And I'm going to get rid of this comment and put red again. So on RGB, we're still working from 00 to 255, except that this time we're using the decimal value. So basically, and I'm going to put a comment here, FS is 255 in decimal. So this, let's say I want the text to be green. I'm going to change it. I'm going to make this 0. And I'm going to make this 255. So what's going to happen is going to make the text green. And there's my green. See? You can barely tell because of the type of colors that I'm using. But if I wanted it dark, I can do 128, which is a little bit darker green. And there's my dark green. 128 is the middle, and 255 is like a light green, very fluorescent green, if you will. And that's one of the reasons why it's probably better to do this predefined colors. But nonetheless, you can do RGB. What if I wanted to do transparency using RGB? Because I mean, I was able to do it in hexadecimal. What if I wanted to do it in RGB? So to do that, we're basically going to add, we're going to use a different function, and it's called rgba. Okay, so instead of RGB, if I do rgba, now I can add another parameter, and I'm going to put 1.0, so you can see the difference. The range for this alpha value, the fourth parameter, ranges between 0.0 and 1.0. Here is with the 1.0, and if I put 0.0, it's transparent. So if I do 0. I don't know, let's say 3, obviously it's 30%. There's light green right there, see? So RGB takes 3 parameters. RGBA adds a fourth parameter for the transparency level, and rgba uses a fourth parameter between 0 and 1, right? So 0.3 is like 30% and so on. Again, I'm still using my 0, 0 to 255 values here, and I have my transparency level. And one last way to do colors, and this one's a little bit more complicated, is what is called hsl. Now, hsl is a little bit more complicated. I normally don't use hsl, but hsl stands for hue, saturation, and lightness. Hue, saturation, and lightness. And it represents a cylindrical coordinate representation of the colors. And I'm reading this from the definition of what hsl. And of course, there's hsla, where the A acts the same way as it does on the rgba. You can add a transparency level. So, how does this exactly work? Well, let's get rid of this color rgba, and I'm just gonna get rid of all of it, and I'm gonna do hsl, sorry, and I'm gonna do semicolon here and close my parentheses. So what am I expecting? Okay, so think of this following, and you know how in hex it was 0, 0 to FF, and for decimal is 0, 0 to 255, but in HSL, it's actually, think of a 0 to 360. Think cylindrical. The only difference is there is no RGB. The first value is the hue. So for example, 120, it's green, right? 0, 0, and 0 is red, 120 is green, and 240 is blue. That's and it goes all the way to 360 where it becomes red again. The saturation percentage is between 0, which is gray, and 100%, which is full color. So if I wanted full color, it's expecting a percentage, okay? So this is the 100% because I want it in color. And I'm gonna change it to 0 so you can see what happens. And then there's a lightness, and it's also a percentage where 0 is black and 100% is white. So I'm gonna do 50%. And this is gonna do, it should do a green. So let's go ahead and do that. And there's my green. If I want it red, we can do 0. We'll do 0, let's do 0. And there's my red, see? My red is 0, my 120 is for green. And, but what if I change this to 0%? Remember I said I'll change that to 0 so you can see the difference? So here it is. And look, it became black and white basically, right? I'm gonna change it to 100% again. Actually, I'm gonna do 75 so you can see the different values that what they do. Here's my 75%. I'm gonna do this 228, and I'm gonna save it and see it becomes blue. I'm gonna do this 70%, and see that HSL. I personally don't use it that much, but I know it works and I know how it works. But it is one of those things that, you know, like I said, it's look at cylindrical, there's 360 degrees. So think of like a circle going around where each one is a color, except the color is defined here. And then these two parameters that, you know, they define the saturation again, 0, which is gray, to 100 to full color, or 0 to 100, where one is black and the other one's white for this over here. And like my RGB counterpart, I can add the A and then add a percentage here as well, between 0 and 1. And if it's already kind of grayish here or lighted, this made it even more dimmer. I should say the word dimmer. So anyways, that is how you do colors in CSS. You know, you can use the predefined colors, or you can do the RGB or the hsla or hsl, and you obviously you can do the hexadecimal. I like predefined colors only because there's a variety. In fact, this file here called CSS colors, all I did is I went in and I made a table with all of these color names so you can see them, and I'll show you what they look like. I'm gonna go to this CSS colors, and I'm gonna open it with Safari. And this is what the colors look like. Look at all the predefined names. And I'm gonna keep going, scrolling down. You can see the names right there. These are all predefined. There might be even more, I don't know. But these are all the ones that I came up with. And I made this file all this file does is it prints this. That's all it does. Anyways, I hope you like this demonstration of colors. Again, for the word color to change the text color or the background color or the background image. And if you want to do HSL or RGB or the hex or the predefined. That's all that I have for you today. I hope you enjoyed it. If you like this video, please share and like my video, subscribe, and until next time, guys, take care.